Hey you guys, hope everyone is doing well today. This is Anya back with another episode of Let's Keep It Real. And guess what? We are still talking about the coronavirus COVID-19 as it continues to spread around the world, disrupting lives and creating what many will soon come to embrace as the new normal. We're all becoming familiar with catchphrases like flattening the curve. Have you heard it? Self-quarantine, social distancing, and shelter in place. The shelter in place rule meant that for 24 hours, residents were not allowed to go outside unless they were going to the doctors or going to get groceries. Social distancing meant that people had to stay about 3 feet away from each other. And it's so funny because when I was driving around today, I went to the grocery store and you'll see a video of how empty the shelves were when I went into the grocery store. But while I was driving around on my way to the grocery store, I passed by another grocery store and I noticed that the people standing online waiting to go into the grocery store were very respectfully observing the social distance rules. They were standing 3 feet from the person in front of them. And I was amazed because New Yorkers are not very disciplined. So for them to be observing and respecting the social distance rule, I was very impressed. As of this broadcast, at least 100 people in the U.S. have now died, according to an unofficial count from researchers at Johns Hopkins University, and the disease has spread to all 50 states. As of today also, West Virginia was the only state that supposedly had no record of any coronavirus cases, but because of the fact that the population in West Virginia is very elderly, their governor was very concerned. 8 people, was it 8? 8 people have been tested and 4 are negative. Some tests have been administered and they're waiting for the results, but as of today, West Virginia continues to be the only state that is not affected by the coronavirus. Some people who have been affected are the 2 Utah Jazz basketball players. Kevin Durant came out today and said that he tested positive for the coronavirus. Yesterday, Idris Elba came out and said, though being asymptomatic, he had been in contact with someone who had tested positive, so he went ahead and got tested and his test came back positive. 4 Nets players are now positive, and it's concerning because those teams played each other and they're basically in close contact for the entire game. So the 2 basketball players from the Utah Jazz testing positive, and every other team that they have played are at risk for having been exposed to the virus. So Kevin Durant is positive. The 2 Utah Jazz players and Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson are still down in Australia, and they proved positive once they tested. One thing I'm definitely going to be doing is a special episode focused on the kids and things that you can do with your children if you have young ones at home for the extended period of time, because while schools are closed and they're at home, we have to be able to engage them both educationally and physically. So I'm going to be doing things that you can do with your school age kids who are at home. The President of the United States addressed the nation on Monday and soon after took to Twitter, and I will read the tweet for you. It said, "The United States will be powerfully supporting those industries like airlines and others that are particularly affected by the Chinese virus. We will be stronger than ever before." Immediately after he tweeted that, the head of the CDC and many officials criticized the phrase as inaccurate and potentially harmful in promoting racist associations between the virus and China. Many people took to social media to express their disapproval, including New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, who said the tweet was misplacing blame and could put more Asian Americans in danger. And speaking of China and America, China said on Wednesday it will revoke the media credentials of all American journalists at 3 major U.S. news organizations, in effect expelling them from the country in response to the U.S. restrictions on Chinese state-controlled media. The Foreign Ministry said American citizens working for the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post with credentials expiring before the end of the year must surrender their press cards within 10 days and leave the country. And in the spirit of social distancing, which has been suggested by the World Health Organization, as I mentioned, it means staying a few feet away from other people as a basic protective measure against the virus. Uber and Lyft have immediately suspended Uber Pool and Rideshare in the US and Canada. operators will no longer pick up multiple passengers going in the same direction unless they're couples or families and friends who already coexist. And in addition to that, they are suspending carpooling service. The Uber app will display a message asking riders travel only when necessary, and they're encouraging riders to sit in the back seat in an effort to protect the driver as well as the passengers, which is a good idea because sometimes when you go in the Uber pool and they pick someone up and then they pick somebody else up, and sometimes they pick a third person up because they're allowed to take at least 3 people. So that's great that they are practicing social distancing and eliminating the Uber pool and rideshare in the US and Canada. And they are considering whether they will extend that worldwide. And as a good faith effort, Uber Eats is waiving delivery fees for over 100,000 independent restaurants as a way to serve people who have to stay at home. And they're also offering 14 days of financial assistance to drivers who were diagnosed with the disease or need to be quarantined because of having been in contact with it. Let's take a quick look at some other points that have surfaced. In Washington, the Pentagon, which employs 1.4 million men and women in uniform and about 1.1 million reservists and more than 700,000 civilian employees, has only administered less than 500 tests. And of those tests, 37 have come back positive. 18 of the men and women in uniform have tested positive, and about 19 civilian employees. So the Pentagon has been affected, and TSA has also been affected with at least 6 TSA officers testing positive. Dozens are now in self-quarantine as of Monday. It's not surprising the disease is taking an increasing toll on this agency, specifically because they come into such close contact with passengers having to pat them down. TSA announced 1 positive test at Orlando International Airport. That officer is being treated, and all employees who came into contact with the person were self-quarantined. Another positive at Fort Lauderdale International Airport, and 4 at the airport in San Jose, California, and 40 people at San Jose have self-quarantined. Just a quick recap. Schools all over the country are being canceled. Churches are no longer holding services. They're exploring having those services online. Weddings, sporting events, concerts, and all large events are canceled. Suggested numbers are down to 20 for gatherings. Funerals are being canceled. The government is working on an emergency aid package for businesses that includes low interest loans, an employer tax credit, a payroll tax cut, and a federal income tax. And for employees, they're proposing paid leave, paid sick leave, payroll tax cut, unemployment benefits, food aid, and income tax deferment. However, I am particularly concerned for those employees in the entertainment industry, of which I am one. People are worried sick, not knowing how they will cover their expenses, because we work on a freelance basis from gig to gig, project to project, and all of the productions have shut down. All of the projects are canceled. We're not doing anything. And even though there are petitions going around to implore the federal government to consider that faction of the employment workforce, we haven't heard anything. So fingers crossed that some consideration will be given to the freelance employees in the entertainment industry. Not everyone has the privilege of being able to work from home and continue to have a paycheck. Now, before I leave, I just wanted to talk about something that has absolutely nothing to do with the coronavirus, just to give us a little reprieve from that. I wanted to talk about Tom Brady, the most successful quarterback in NFL history and my absolute favorite quarterback. He has allegedly agreed to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yep, he may be parting ways with the New England Patriots and Mr. Bill Belichick. He's been there for the last 20 years, all of his career. He's only played for one team and he's only had one coach. They won 6 Super Bowls together with the Patriots, and he is moving on. He has agreed to a $30 million per season deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it said. So hopefully if he does end up going there, he will take them to their 2nd Super Bowl in franchise history, because they have only won 1. Remember, as promised, I'll be back with a special episode for the kids as they're on an extended break from school. So that's it. I've come to the end of another episode. It's been fun. It's been real. Join me next time. This is Anya saying bye.